Peace, black man. It's your boy Dre, and making another video about my recent trip to Colombia. I've been to Dominican Republic several times, probably 30 times. And this is my second time going to Colombia. And I didn't want to make a video after the first visit to Colombia just because I wanted to be reassured about kind of my perspective. And so I went again this just last month. I was there for 2 weeks, spent a week in Medellín and then spent a week in Cartagena. And so now I think I'm in a position where I can give you some real comparative shopping, for lack of a better term, in regards to the Dominican Republic and Colombia, and which one you might want to consider going to versus the other. Now, I will say before I get into my categories that the countries are really more the same than they are different. And so when you hear me talk about, the differences between the countries, just understand that it's minute. Like, it's not a huge difference, and you really could go to either country and have a great experience, or go to either country and have a horrible experience. And so my opinion is clearly not everybody's opinion, but if you in this video hear something that you disagree with, or you've had experiences in that may help the next black man travel there and have a more quality experience, please share in the comments, because this channel really is all about black men getting their passport and getting out there and experiencing the world. And as much as we can share with each other our lessons learned as far as traveling, the better off we'll be. And, clearly I haven't been everywhere. I've been to a number of places, but I haven't been everywhere. And so I appreciate the culmination of feedback and comments, just because, again, it serves the community well as far as our attempts at seeing and going to places that we need to be seeing and going, right? So let's get into the video now. Some perspective, right? I consider Dominican Republic almost my second home. I've been to Dominican Republic probably 30 times. I've owned property there, bought and sold. I have really good relationships with some friends in Santiago and Santo Domingo. Clearly, I've had a number of relationships with women. I haven't been to Colombia as much, although I've, recently gone for my second time. And so my comparisons will be limited, of course, but I think they're pretty accurate. So let's break down the categories that I'm comparing the countries with, and then I'll be able to get into the specifics a little bit more as we walk through them. So first, I'm going to talk about culture and vibe between the two countries, just what that culture and that vibe is like in comparison to each other. Then I'm going to talk about adventure and natural beauty, like just the natural things to see and do in these two countries that make them who they are. I want to talk about the cost of living and travel there, just because that's going to be a significant part of your consideration as you start planning your travel to either one of these countries. Then I want to talk about women in social scene. The reality is that women is part of the reason why I travel.
Women. What could you say? Who made them? God must have been a fucking genius. The hair. They say the hair is everything, Have you ever buried your nose in a mountain of curls? Just wanted to go to sleep forever. Or lips that when they touched yours were like
I want to talk a little bit about women and the social scenes in the two countries from my experience. Then I want to talk about food and cuisine because that's another big one. I travel because I want to have wow experiences when I travel. I don't want to eat a bunch of then steak and fries when I travel internationally. I want to have cultural food experiences when I travel. And so these two countries are very different in respect to that. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. Nightlife and entertainment. Both countries have an amazing nightlife, entertainment, but they are different. And so I'm going to focus a little energy on that. History and landmark. There's a lot of stuff going on in both of those countries that make them an incredible place to visit in respect to kind of what they've gone through. And so I want to talk a little bit about history and landmarks in those countries. Then I want to talk about safety and travel logistics, because those, again, are considerations that you must take into account. You do not want to go into these countries blindly. Both of them are different in respect to safety. And so just planning out your trip would be wise. And I'm going to give you some comparisons on the two. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about ease of travel and accessibility. So getting there, coming back, just how different is it between the two countries in respect to traveling there. So without further ado, let's get to the list. What I'm going to do is talk a little bit about each one of the countries in respect to the category. And then I'm going to give you my choice as far as which country highlights that particular category and might be the best choice because of it. So let's start with culture and vibe between the two countries. We'll start with Colombia. Colombia is an amazing country. It's a big country, a lot bigger as far as people and space than Dominican Republic. And so the diversity in Colombia is more significant than I would say in Dominican Republic. But one thing that amazed me about Colombia that I didn't know before going to Colombia was that there were so many black people in Colombia. I grew up on the East Coast, United States. And so my primary Latinos are Puerto Rican and Dominican. So growing up, for me, everybody was Puerto Rican or Dominican. You might have been Mexican, you might have been Colombian, you might have been something else, but you were Dominican or Puerto Rican. But one thing I realized, even as I got older, is that I didn't bump into a lot of dark Colombians. I knew plenty of black Dominicans. I knew plenty of black Puerto Ricans, but I didn't come across many dark Colombians. And so when I get there and learn that Colombia is probably the fifth or sixth country with the largest black population outside of Africa, I just didn't know that. And so going there was almost a little bit of a shock. And that culture is there. That black African kind of energy is in Colombia. And so the culture of the motherland is in Colombia. And so you feel that, you sense it, the dance, the food, the dress. You see a lot of just African influenced stuff going on. They got a vibrant music scene. Their thing is salsa. They are a salsa country. And so you're gonna feel the salsa going on in Colombia. I hear that it's even more prevalent in smaller cities like Cali. I visited Medellín and Cartagena, which probably are a little bit more touristy. And so you're not going to get as much authenticity as you would as if you went to like Barranquilla or Cali or what have you. And so there's that. But salsa is the thing. They also are big on reggaeton. You know, they have a bunch of artists, popular artists. Karol G. What's the other guy with the blonde hair? I can't remember his name, but he's pretty popular. So music is just is a thing in Colombia. The major cities in Colombia are, of course, Medellin, Cartagena, and the capital, Bogota. And so if you are traveling there, that's where you're going to find the touristy stuff going on. But then you have these smaller cities like Barranquilla and Cali who are steep in culture. And I haven't traveled there, but I've heard a lot about them and done a lot of research. And so if you're trying to get real culture, Colombia culture, you might want to travel to some of those smaller places. Now we move on to Dominican Republic. Now, if you've been to the Dominican Republic, you know that Dominican Republic, there's plenty of black folks in Dominican Republic. And Africa is definitely a representative in that country, even if they don't necessarily acknowledge it.
I know black. I know black. I know black. Imposible. I know black. I'm Dominican. I'm Puerto Rican. I know black. Be looking just like me. Be having the same hair. I be touching you like, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same, papi. It's not the same. They try to salsa that shit off. I be like, no, it's not the same. I know black. Negro nunca, nunca. I know no, nunca. I know black. I'm like, no, you black. No. I know black.
Of course, there's plenty of Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Spanish roots. Their music is merengue and bachata, and so that's not to say that merengue and bachata is not in Colombia. It's just more of a salsa country, whereas Dominican Republic is much more of a merengue bachata country. And so the music, the dance in Dominican Republic, if you want to meet a good woman, knowing how to bachata is a plus. Your boy's bachata game is on 10. But nonetheless, so bachata is the thing. Dominican Republic is, as a landmass, is heavy on the beach. Like they got beaches all, the whole coast around the landmass is beach. And so it's a beachy country. Clearly you have the inside of the land. And so you have cities like Santiago, even the capital, Santo Domingo, which is not as beachy, but it's nothing to get to a beach in Dominican Republic. I mean, you can drive north, south, east, southeast, northeast, and you're going to bump into a beach. And so heavy on the beach. Whereas the difference is Colombia has its coast. Cartagena is a beach city. But if you're looking for a beach country, then you're going to Dominican Republic. Both countries have amazing celebrations. They both do carnival to a certain extent. I think Colombia does it a little bit bigger than Dominican Republic, but both of them are heavy on getting out, partying, vibe. There's always something to do in both countries. So with that being said, if I had to pick one country to go to in respect to culture, vibe, dance, partying, whatever, I'd have to give it to Colombia. Colombia is it's just bigger and more to do and more going on. And so they turn up. Colombia will always find the excuse to party. And so that's the place that I would go to if culture and vibe was my priority. Next up, let's talk about adventure and natural beauty. Colombia. In my recent trip to Colombia, I did ATV riding, and so I was in Cartagena and we got on the ATVs. You can do ATVs anywhere. Both countries, ATV is a big deal. I climbed Guantepe, which is like the big rock in Medellin. It's like 700 steps. And then once you get to the top, you're just seeing beauty. This is a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. When I was in Colombia, I did a coffee expedition. And so I went into the mountains of Medellin to learn more about coffee. I don't even like coffee. I don't even drink coffee, but I did it more so just to kind of engage in the culture, right? Like Colombia, coffee. They kind of go hand in hand. And so when I got there, it was really dope to kind of experience that. Um, they have a city in Colombia that is all African. So 5,000 residents, all black, all trying to preserve their African roots. And so that was an incredible experience just to kind of get out and see stuff. Colombia is a very kind of picturesque, mountainous kind of country. And so when you look out into its vastness, you got ocean, you got mountains, there's just a lot to see in Colombia. When I went to Medellin, one thing that amazed me about Medellin is when you get off the airplane and you drive into Medellin, the last 15 minutes you're going through a tunnel. Once you come out of that tunnel, you're in Medellin. But basically, that tunnel is a cutout through a mountain because Medellin is surrounded by mountains. It's a valley. You're in a valley when you're in Medellin. And so when you look up into the sky, all you see is mountains, 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 360 degrees. That's where the Coke was being made because and so Medellin is a beautiful city and the country is just beautiful as well. Now, the difference. Dominican Republic, like I stated in the previous category, is a beach country. So you are going to see some of the most beautiful beaches in the world in the Dominican Republic. And they are numerous. You can go north to Puerto Plata. You can go east to Punta Cana. You can go northeast to Cabarete and Samaná. You can go La Romana. You can go Bani. You can go everywhere, and you are going to run into a beautiful beach. So Dominican Republic, beaches, beaches, beaches. Excursions, there's plenty of beauty in Dominican Republic and smaller countries like I think you call it Jarabacoa and Cabarete. So there's a lot of like kite surfing and surfing going on in Dominican Republic. So if you're into like water stuff, Dominican Republic is the place to be. Like the crazy thing about Colombia that I realized, or at least while I was there in Cartagena, is that I couldn't find a fishing boat or expedition. That's normal in Dominican Republic. If you like fishing, that's easy to find in the Dominican Republic. In Colombia, I just couldn't find it, and I love fishing. And so that outside experience wasn't as good. But if I had to pick a country that I would go to for the scenery, the expeditions, and stuff like that, I would have to say, again, Colombia. Part of the reason why I say Colombia is purely just because of the size of the country. There's just so much to do. You can go to Medellin, you can go to Cartagena, you can go to Bogota, then you can go to some of the smaller places. You can have very different experiences over all those cities. Whereas Dominican Republic is pretty much the same going on. So Colombia is my choice as far as adventure and natural beauty. Now let's talk about cost of living and travel. So Colombia, thing I realized, and I didn't really expect it to be the case, but affordable accommodations and dining in Colombia is just a thing. You are going to get more for your money dollar in Colombia than probably almost any place that I've ever traveled. It was amazing to me how cheap it was to live and to eat. Now, clearly they have their expensive parts of Colombia. Medellin, you have their communities where you have Poblado, I think it's called, or yeah, it's like that, where most of the tourists are coming, and that area is going to be expensive. Whereas you can go to another part of Medellin and you'd be a 7-night stay in an Airbnb for about $30 a night. whereas in parts it might be $150 a night. So Colombia, you can find a decent place to stay for the low. And the same with food. It's really cheap to eat in Colombia. They are big on street food. So pork is a big thing. You can find pork belly, chicharrón everywhere. They done found 100 ways to make chicharrón delicious. They're big on the bread, arepes, and stuff like that. So anyway, it's very cheap to eat in Colombia. The cost of transportation in Colombia is also super cheap. I would recommend that you use Uber primarily, just for safety reasons. When I was in Colombia, both in Medellín or Cartagena, I don't think I ever paid more than $5 for an Uber ride. Never. And I took Ubers everywhere. So Uber is a win in Colombia. They have little yellow cabs, but the yellow cabs for foreigners, you got to be careful because, you're going to get the gringo price, right? So they're going to know that you're not from there. And so they're going to charge you 1/3 or 2/5 more than you should be paying. But also just for safety reasons, just heard some war stories when it comes to the yellow cab. So do yourself a favor, get the Uber app, and you'll be good. If you're looking for cheaper living, then you got to go where tourists are not. And so Medellín, Cartagena, touristy areas, beach town in Cartagena, city in Medellín. So if I were you, wanted to make on a budget, I'd consider smaller towns like Cali, Barranquilla as one of my first places to go. You're still going to have an incredible experience, but you're going to be a lot more affordable to stay there. So that for Colombia. Now it has gotten more expensive over the years. I've been traveling to the Dominican Republic since 2015 consistently, and consistently every year DR has gotten more expensive. DR is really the most traveled touristy country in the Caribbean, and so everybody's going to DR. The beaches are there, the women are there, the food is there, and so DR knows kind of so DR definitely is on the higher end, particularly places like Punta Cana, Santo Domingo, Punta Cana primarily. Those are the places that you're gonna cheese. Outside of there, you can, if you're smart and you're savvy, you can find cheaper places to stay. But if you're going to those places, you're gonna spend some money. Also, they're known, particularly Punta Cana, is known for their all-inclusive resorts, and so that's money as well. So traveling to Punta Cana, you're going to spend some change. I consider, I consider Punta Cana almost an extension of Miami. And so, and that almost, but also in money, how much you're going to spend. And so just be conscious that Punta Cana is going to charge you up. Cheaper options in the smaller cities, just like any place else. And so if you go to not Santo Domingo, but if you go to Santiago, parts of, or La Romana, or not so much Cabarete. So anytime you're on the coast, you're going to spend some money. Anytime you're more inland, you're going to spend less money. And just know that if you're inland, it's easy to get to the coast, and it's easier because they spent some money on their infrastructure, and so they got highways going up north and down. So if I pick a country in regards to cost of living and travel in that country, I'd have to go with Colombia. You just get more for your money in Colombia than you do in DR. Now, don't take this as me choosing Colombia over DR, because in some cases I do, in some cases I don't. But in my experience, you're going to get for your money. Next up, we got women and social scene. Now, we'll say this, and some of you disagree with this statement that I'm about to make, but some of the beautiful women I have ever seen on this planet are in Colombia and the repeat. Some of the most beautiful women in the world are in Colombia and Dominican Republic. Now, again, I haven't been everywhere, and so people have argued me down Brazil or parts of Africa. Had a ex was from Arichia. She's gonna kill me if I'm not pronouncing her country right. So she was host, and gorgeous, dropped, and so, of course, it's in the eye of the beholder. But part of the reason why I travel to DR or Colombia is because of women. I just love a beautiful woman. And so let's compare them in the social scene. Colombia. Women in Colombia are a more subdued than a D. So they're friendly, waiting for you to approach them. They're not going to be approaching you. And so when you go to Colombia and you see a beautiful woman, she's waiting for you to say something. And in most cases, she will respond in a friendly manner. You can go out to a nightclub or go out and have a good time, and you can see a beautiful Colombian woman and ask her to dance, and 9 times out of 10, she's gonna oblige. She may not be in love with you, and you may not be taking her home for the night, but they're open. The social scene in Colombia is super vibrant. Super vibrant. There is things to do in Colombia, and women are out doing things. Of course, there's women at home making homes, but you go in Colombia and you're going to see the women out. They're going to be out and they're going to be dressed, and they're not dressed to show off. They're more just kind of dressed up. And then the women are heavy on family values. And so what you'll find in Colombia is that it's not necessarily a hookup country. You're not going there to smash dash. Now, that's not to say that you ain't going to smash, because I did plenty of that in Colombia. But what I'm saying is that you're not going there differently than DR. You're not going there with the expectation that when you meet somebody that day or that night, you're going to hit, because it's 50-50. And so women in Colombia have a self-respect about them that you as a traveler or tourist might not be ready for. But if you are, you might find that it's worth the wait. Right. And so beautiful women in Colombia, their natural aesthetic as far as their hair goes is that long, straight indigenous look. So they got that long, straight hair. You find plenty of curly haired, don't get me wrong, but indigenous to that country is that long, straight hair. Plenty of ass and tits going on in Colombia. So, it's dope. Dominican Republic. Now, Dominican Republic is a different beast when it comes to women. And not to say that that is a good or a bad thing. It is what it is. One, Dominican Republic this is a general statement. Dominican Republic is a pay-for-play country. So in most cases, you are going to have to come out the pocket in order to deal with a woman in the Dominican Republic. They are a lot more savvy and game oriented in the Dominican Republic. And so you can play, but you're going to have to pay. And that may not be monetarily. That may be in, buying them something or spending time with them enough so that they get something bought for them during that time. But it's definitely a pay for play type of country. Dominican women are warm, beautiful, and very family oriented. So it's nothing to have a Dominican woman wake up in the morning to have her cooking you breakfast, washing your underwear by hand, clipping your toenails. Once they identify you as somebody that they want, you are going to get the works. Lively nightlife scene, dancing. Like I said, especially merengue and bachata. If you want to meet a woman, learn how to merengue or bachata. Trust me. Most of their social circles in Dominican Republic revolve around family. So in most cases, you're going to find a woman and she is going to live with her parents, and this is well into their 30s or 40s, and their kids. Family is big in Dominican Republic. And generally, because of the economy and what have you, family sticks together and they share space. And so oftentimes when you're going, you're not going to be visiting your Dominican girlfriend as much as she's going to be visiting you. Now, that's not to say that you won't eventually be brought home, but it is to say that home means that in most cases, dad is there, mom is there, the kids are there, sisters and brothers are there. Everybody's still at home in Dominican Republic. So the social scene is live in Dominican Republic. Now, when I said it's a pay or play type of country, that's all over the country. The economy is tough in Dominican Republic. And that's not to say it's not tough in Colombia, because it is. But in Dominican Republic, it's tough. So they're looking for opportunities, and you just might be that opportunity that they're looking for. So be conscious, be careful, because the game is being played in DR seriously. If I had to pick a country in respect to the women in the social scene, unfortunately, and I hate this, but I'd have to give it to Colombia. Colombia blew my mind. It blew my mind. One is just because, the women are so beautiful. I wouldn't say more beautiful than Dominican women, but they're just super beautiful. And you can find a more qualified woman in Colombia. So you got your women of the night in Colombia. They're all over the place. But you also have a huge working class of established women in Colombia that are out and about, trying to meet men, trying to find love, trying to connect. And that is really what's different to me than DR, is that you're going to find a more established kind of woman in Colombia than you will in DR. And so that's my pick. Now, I love Dominican women, and so much so that this last trip, my Dominican girlfriend came to Colombia with me for the first 3 days. Yes, I brought sand to the beach, and we had a great experience. But then I sent her home, and then, I got about my thing. But I love Dominican Republic. I love Dominican women, and I'm not saying that Colombian women are better than Dominican women. I'm just saying that you got a little bit more options in Colombia. Yeah. Next up, food and cuisine. Now, this is, next to women, probably the most important thing to me. I need to go to your country and feel like I am being wowed.
Baked to perfection. Can you believe this? It all comes with the room. I love being incontinent. I love being incontinent. A delight to the senses. Isn't it, my friend? Isn't it? Yes. I'll have what I'm having. I'll have what I'm having.
Colombia, I'll just keep it simple. Colombia is not the greatest place for food. It's just not. I was there for 2 weeks. This time I was there for 2 weeks. So I've spent a month in Colombia. And I can honestly say that I have not had one wow experience in Colombia. I'm searching for wow when I go. I want wow. I have not had one wow experience in Colombia. One is that they just don't do seasoning. They don't season their food the way other countries do. And so there's no oomph to their food. It's not to say that the food is nasty. It's just to say that it's just no oomph to it. There's no peppers going on in Colombia. That's not to say that they don't grow. They just don't use them in Colombia. And so my experience in Colombia in respect to food was not great. And that's a very different experience than I would say to the Dominican Republic. I love Dominican food. And Dominicans have some traditional dishes that they can do really, really well, better than anybody else on this planet. Mofongo. Nobody's doing mofongo better than Dominicans. Sancocho. Nobody is doing sancocho better than Dominican Republic. They just do foods right. Rice, beans, meats are flavored. It's just a flavorful country, for lack of a better term. It's just, you're gonna get flavor. The food is delicious in Dominican Republic. Clearly a strong influence in both countries on African and Spanish cuisine, but Colombia doesn't see Dominican Republic not even close. Both of them have tropical fruits. In both countries, you can stay somewhere where there's trees growing and you could literally reach out and pull plantains off your tree, or mangoes or avocados. If I had to pick a country, of course, in regard to food and eating, Dominican Republic wins hands down, no question. Next up, we got nightlife and entertainment. Colombia, Medellín, Bogota, Cartagena, big nightlife. They are partying in Colombia. And reggaeton and salsa clubs are a big thing there. So it's not hard to find nightlife in Colombia. Cities like Cali and Barranquilla are known for salsa. They're almost like considered like the salsa cities. So if you want to dance, you're going to explore those countries. And then Cartagena is it's almost like Miami on steroids as far as size goes. Right? Plenty of kind of beachy stuff to do. They even have a whole town that's in this wall where it's nothing but nightlife, food, and what have you. And so as far as nightlife goes in Colombia, plenty to do. Santo Domingo, or Dominican Republic. Santo Domingo and Punta Cana, a lot of kind of beachfront kind of stuff going on. Casinos are big in Dominican Republic. You can party in Dominican Republic. Bachata and merengue are the dominant dancing going on in the nightlife of Dominican Republic. And then you got plenty of resort-based activities in DR. So once you go to Punta Cana, if you want to stay safe, party with other tourists, then Punta Cana is a great place for it, just because you got plenty of activities. Now, here's a challenge with the two countries in comparison, and I think what's happening. DR has almost adopted the American personality as far as nightlife goes. So if you go to a club in Santo Domingo or Puerto Plata or Punta Cana, you'll find that they focus a lot more on bottles and VIP areas. So you'll sense that when you go to these cities that people are there just to show off. You have people in their VIP section. You got people coming in with their gold. They got cars. It's nothing to see a Lamborghini or a BMW or a Mercedes in Dominican Republic pull up to an established nightlife in any of the cities. And then people, wearing their wear. But then they get there and they're kind of playing their different sections. Different is Colombia. And for two reasons. One is that showing off is not a thing in Colombia. Modesty is a thing in Colombia. You don't want to go to Colombia showing off, because what Colombia teaches you is that anybody can get it. I don't care how rich you think you are. I don't care how popular think you are. Anybody can get it in Colombia. And so when people go out, they don't go out to flash. They go out to have a good time. So when you go to a Colombian party or club or whatever, you're going to see dancing. You're gonna see people on the dance floor having a good time. You're not gonna see as much VIP popping bottles or whatever, because the moment you show that you have excess, there is somebody in Colombia that wants part of that, and they can get it. That's one thing about Colombia is you don't show off in Colombia. You are modest in Colombia. In Dominican Republic, you can show off all you want. There's not really an air of kind of that level of crime or tension. In Colombia, it is. So when you're in Colombia, you go out to party. That's why I pick Colombia as far as the country with the best nightlife and entertainment, is because people go out to have a good time in Colombia. In DR, people are going to show off. And so, big difference. History and landmark, I won't get into deep with this. Both of these countries are beautiful. Both of them got plenty to see. A steep heritage as far as colonialism and escaping that colonialism so that they are a free country. And so I would say it's a tie between Colombia and Dominican Republic. They're both beautiful places, and you can't lose as far as going to either. Next, we have safety and travel logistics. Big category. Colombia. Safety has improved over the years. Colombia was known for many years for the kidnap, for the rob. For years, it was known all over the country. It has improved significantly. Medellín, a lot safer. Bogota, a lot safer. Cartagena, a lot safer. But there is an air of anybody can get it. And so you got to be careful in Colombia, particularly in the smaller cities. The bigger cities, they got infrastructure set up. In Cartagena, you can't rent an Airbnb and have guests on the beachfront. There's other places you can do it, but that's more so to keep people safe, bringing in women setting them up, blah, blah, blah. So there's still an air of that in Colombia that you want to be careful of. The rural areas still face the challenges because the cities have taken the steps to kind of deal with that stuff, but the smaller places are still dealing with it. So the criminals and the people that are doing dirt just move to smaller places. So you got to be more careful in places like Cali or Barranquilla or any of those smaller cities in the country. And just in general, learn a little bit of Spanish. If you're going to Colombia, if you're going to DR too.
Look here, man. Rashidi, man, hooked me up with some Tic Tacs. You know, my breath, I don't want that stinking, you know. And a box of extra large condoms. The kind you dream about.
واسه چی مرد که دیوونه رو اینجا رو میدونه ما بخنده؟
آها یه بیکوف کال رفت انا دکان کین لیتا
Look, over there, Papa, man, far seen that baladam. Didn't know I knew how to speak that stuff, did you, huh? That's right. I'm an international player.
Learn a bit of Spanish. It's going to help you get out of tough situations. It's going to help you navigate and get to places. And if you don't know Spanish, it's not hard to learn survival Spanish. Get on YouTube, find Duolingo or something like that, and just learn some Spanish words so that you keep yourself in a situation that you can get yourself out of, hopefully by communicating. Dominican Republic. Now, Dominican Republic over the last couple of years has gotten a bad rap for tourists that have either died or what have you. Dominican Republic in general is a much safer country. Dominican Republic doesn't have the kind of history of vigilantism that Colombia does. Colombia is known for the jukes. Dominican Republic, while it's going on there, they don't have the same kind of history that Colombia has. And so it's safer. There's some things that you don't want to do in Dominican Republic that some people lose or don't pay attention to. So you don't want to go to communities that you don't know, especially in the evening when the sun comes down, the people come out. And so you want to be in places where there's lots of people and it's safe. So DR is no different than any other place when it comes to the safety and stuff like that. Petty crime is big there. So people will rob. You have a lot of poor Haitians in Dominican Republic that are hustling and figuring shit out. And so a lot of petty crimes from, poor Dominicans or poor Haitians is going on. But and you'll find a little bit more English speaking people in Dominican Republic than you will in Colombia. And so easy travel, a little bit easier travel for English speaking tourists. But again, learning Spanish is a plus, and you definitely be better off having some survival Spanish in Dominican Republic. If I had to pick as far as safety and travel logistics, it'd be Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic is just a safer country than Colombia. And that's not to say that Colombia is super dangerous or what have you. I'm a believer that anybody that's looking for danger or getting caught up can find it in either place. And so just keep your head on a swivel. In either country, you'll be okay. But if you're looking for safety or a safe first trip, DR is your place. All right, last category. Ease of travel and accessibility. Colombia. Plenty of direct flights from the U.S. and Europe to cities like Bogota, Medellín, and Cartagena. Those are the primary cities in Colombia. And so you shouldn't have any trouble finding flights from the U.S. or the U.K. to those particular cities. You may have a layover in the United States as far as Miami or Fort Lauderdale, but for the most part, you can find a flight to get you straight to Colombia. Colombia has a really good infrastructure going on as far as travel among the cities. So the highways are super on point and vast. You don't have a lot of impediment while you're traveling in the country. That's very different than Dominican Republic. Although Dominican Republic has improved. You can get to Dominican Republic very similar to Colombia, to these three cities: Santo Domingo, Puerto Plata, Punta Cana, and Santiago. Those are the four major cities in Dominican Republic that you will be traveling to. Generally, you'll be able to find a flight that can get you to one of those hub spots. Easy to get to the resorts. So Punta Cana, if you want a resort experience, you just fly into Punta Cana. Once you get to Punta Cana, you're gonna have multiple options as far as a resort goes and packages and stuff like that. The policies around your passport, you won't have any trouble getting there as an American, or I don't know what the UK situation is, but your passport is okay. You will in both countries have to fill out another online form, immigration form, to enter. Both Colombia and Dominican Republic have an online form that you have to show at immigration. So don't think your passport is enough. You got to get that immigration form filled out. And once it's filled out, you should be good. If I had to pick around ease of travel and accessibility, I would have to say Colombia again. It's just easy to get to. Once you get there, you can get around pretty easily. Dominican Republic has improved a lot. Don't get me wrong. You can now get from Santo Domingo to Puerto Plata very easily. Whereas when I first went there 10 years ago, you were driving through all kinds of craziness to get up north. And so it's happening. Both countries suffer from corruption. Both countries get an incredible amount of tourist money. Both governments have an incredible history of corruption and not taking care of the people or the country the way it should be. But they know it, and so they're improving. And so I look forward to traveling to these countries in the future. I look forward to seeing you in these countries in the future as you get your passport, black man, and get up and get out there. That's it for now. Pay attention to more videos. I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically about a lot of this stuff on this channel. But leave your comments, leave your likes, and please subscribe if this at all is beneficial to you. I'm going to be making a ton of videos and sharing my experiences in my travels. Hope to see you there. Holla at your boy if you need me. Peace.